Hey, Marijuana Man here. Just want to say thanks for watching Pot TV. You can't get higher on the net.
Here in the bimillennial year of the most popular individual in history, Jesus Christ, it is the perfect time to take an honest and hard look at the book that pivoted him into popularity. We say this is the perfect time for this endeavor, not only because we likely won't be burnt at the stake or imprisoned for doing so, but also because of here, in the age of information, access to the historical material that is relevant to the subject is unquestionably more available than ever before. It is only by coming to understand the world and the time in which the Bible itself developed that we can ever understand the Bible itself. The Holy Bible is by far the most widely known and circulated book in the history of the world, and the stories it contains are held to be literally the gospel truth by over 1 billion believers around the globe. No matter where a person lives on this vast planet we call home, they cannot help but be affected by its doctrine, and moreover by its faithful adherents who have zealously propagated the religion of Christianity the world over.
I'm the publisher of Cannabis Culture Magazine, proprietor of Pot TV, but I'm also a candidate in the federal election in Canada. I'm a candidate for the Marijuana Party of Canada in Vancouver Centre. If you want to make your vote count this election, then please, I urge you to support the Marijuana Party candidate in your riding. We have 75 candidates across this country, and they need your moral and voter support to send a message to Ottawa. This new parliament must rewrite the marijuana laws. The courts have ordered them to come up with a new, more equitable marijuana law, and this is the time to put your support behind a candidate that will send a message to Ottawa that we want improved marijuana laws. We want legalization. We want to free the drug war prisoners. We want a tolerant, compassionate Canadian society. I urge you to vote for the Marijuana Party on November 27th in the riding that you live in. Check it out now. Find that Marijuana Party candidate. Volunteer to help. Tell your friends to vote Marijuana Party on November 27th in the Canadian federal election.
Although not widely recognized, drug plants, as in psychoactive substances, play a pivotal role in the development of religion, and the Bible is here no exception. The importance of drugs in religion, like that of sexuality, is often overlooked by researchers who have been printed with our Christian-influenced society's innate prejudice against these substances. Moreover, without personal experience of the power of psychoactive plants, many researchers have failed to perceive the pivotal role that such plants and preparations have played in religious thought the world over. Quote, all religions in which mysticism and contact with the supernatural play an important part attribute a sacred character to an intoxicating drink or other intoxicant. The Bible references to wine, which had become the blood of the Savior by the Christian period, clearly falls into this category. End quote. Elaine Danilo. The use of wine in the ancient world was unquestionably due to its power to stimulate the mystical faculties of human nature, usually crushed to earth by the cold facts and dry criticisms of the sober hour. Even more interestingly, as we shall amply demonstrate on these pages, or in this show, was the use of other intoxicants among the Old Testament Israelites. Despite the marriage between shamanism and psychoactive plants that inspired the development of whole religions, naturally occurring botanical chemicals like psilocybin mushroom, Indian hemp, peyote cactuses, and similar substances have been condemned as devil's potions and drugs by most religious groups of our modern era. Historically, this situation is an anomaly, not the norm. Prior to the Common Era, throughout the ancient world, these magical plants had been seen as sacraments and constituted a very important part of religious worship. In the 1930s, respected scholar W.E. Budge commented that, quote, many of the ancient herbalists knew that the juices of certain plants possessed properties which produced extraordinary effects when introduced into the human body, and that some might be used as aphrodisiacs and others as narcotics and others as stimulants. And the magicians, when they were acquainted with them, naturally used them in lotions and filters to produce both good and evil effects. Some modern scholars have taken this line of thought further, pointing out that the ancients considered these substances to be the sacred food of the gods and a means of communicating with the divine. Still, other scholars suggest that humanity's drive to alter their consciousness is as innate as the drive to fulfill sexual needs and hunger. Harvard psychiatrist and marijuana medical expert Dr. Lester Grinspoon holds the view that, quote, humans have a need, perhaps even a drive, to alter their state of consciousness from time to time. End quote. Likewise, well-known health and drug researcher Dr. Andrew Weil commented, quote, there is not a shred of hope from history or from cross-cultural studies to suggest that human beings can live without psychoactive substances, end quote. A view that is discussed more fully in Ronald K. Siegel's Intoxication, Life in Pursuit of Artificial Paradise. Etymologist and religious historian John M. Allegro pointed out that our ancestors believed these plants were living gateways to other realms and thought of them as angels. The Greek and Hebrew equivalent of the name angel literally means messenger or worker of miracles. The agents interpreted the experiences they received from these plant angels as divine revelations, in much the same way that shamans have done around the world before recorded history and are still doing in South America, Africa, Asia, and even North America today. Although it is little known to most modern readers, marijuana and other entheogens played a very important role in ancient Hebrew culture and originally appeared throughout the books that make up the Bible's Old Testament. The Bible openly discusses the use of mandrake, which is psychoactive, along with intoxication by wine and strong drink, so the Hebrews were more than familiar with altering their consciousness. What will be surprising to most modern readers is the frequent use of cannabis sativa by both the Hebrew priests and kings, indicating, as anthropologist Vera Rubin noted, that cannabis, quote, appears in the Old Testament because of the ritual and sacred aspect of it, end quote. The Old Testament use of cannabis becomes less surprising when one considers that cannabis has been popular at some point with virtually every culture that has discovered its intoxicating properties. Hemp has, quote, been smoked and ingested under various names, hashish, charas, bang, ganja, kif, marijuana, in the Oriental countries, in Africa, and in the Caribbean area for recreation, pleasure, healing, and ritual purposes. They have been important sacraments for such diverse groups as the Sufis, Indian Brahmins, several orders of the Sufis, African natives, Asian Scythians, and Jamaican Rastafarians, end quote, Stanislav Grof. Pointing out the widespread religious use of hemp throughout the ancient Near East amongst the Babylonians, Assyrians, Scythians, and Hebrews, as well as the early spread of its cultic hues from the northern Europe to Siberia, Asia, China, India, Asia Minor, and Southeast Asia, the famed anthropologist Weston LaBarre suggested that, quote, cannabis was part of a religio-shamanic complex of at least Mesolithic age in parallel with an equally old shamanic use of soma, end quote. A hypothesis that is further confirmed by my own research.
On the road again.
Nearly 700,000 Americans were arrested on marijuana charges last year. That's an enormous waste of law enforcement resources and terribly unfair to those arrested and their families. It's time we stopped arresting adults who smoke marijuana responsibly. For more information, visit NORML's website at www.normal.org or call toll-free 888-67-NORMAL and tell them Willie sent you.
For over 150 years, various researchers have been trying to bring attention to the cannabis references within the Old Testament. Quote, like the ancient Greeks, the Old Testament Israelites were surrounded by marijuana-using people. A British physician, Dr. C. Crichton, concluded in 1903 that several references to marijuana can be found in the Old Testament. Examples are the honeycomb references referred to in the Song of Solomon 5:1 and the honeywood in Samuel 14:25-45, as noted by Consumer Reports in their Illicit and Illicit Drugs, which was published in 1972, one of the best books out there on the subject of drugs. I really recommend that people check out Illicit and Illicit Reports for an unbiased view of all drug use.